anytime you change your equipment, you have to make sure that it's set up properly. So you have to make sure that your girth is the right length, that your stirrups are the right length, that your bridle is set up correctly. Hello, in today's video I'm going to talk through some of my favorite equipment that I like to use on my horses. And like everything, buying new equipment isn't going to solve your training problems. But that said, it is really important that you have a saddle and a girth and all the right stuff that properly fits you and your horse, so that you can ride in the correct position and you can develop that connection and harmony with your horse. So this is Mr. Harvey today. He is going to be our model. And the first thing that we want to talk about is, of course, the saddle pad. So this saddle pad is from my friends at Halter Ego. What I like about this saddle pad is the size of it. So it's really important that your saddle pad is big enough that the back of it isn't like pressing down underneath the saddle itself. So you want your saddle pad to be bigger than your saddle. I also like because it has a little bit of padding in the front, which prevents it from sliding back. And it has these billet keepers on the side. Okay, the other thing that I like about this pad is that you'll notice how it has a little cut back here. And so that provides wither clearance. It's really important that your saddle pad allows for the withers to have space. You don't want your saddle pad to be like pulling down on your horse's withers. So that is why it has this nice ergonomic shape. And since I'm riding in a dressage saddle, we want a nice square saddle pad. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on Harvey. This is actually my show pad. I don't use this every day. That's why it's actually clean. Now, this is my second new favorite pad. I've always used the fuzzy pad underneath of my saddles. Let me know what you use under your saddle, but I've always liked the Maddest fuzzy pad, but recently I started using Total Saddle Fit Squish Pad, and it's like super squishy and soft. So Harvey was off, he had surgery, and so he lost a lot of the muscle on his back. So his saddle wasn't really fitting him right. And so I was like, I'm gonna try out the squish pad. And basically what this does is it's designed to equalize the force on your horse's back. So if you happen to like bounce a little bit, or if your saddle doesn't fit perfectly and your saddle bounces a little bit, it really helps to distribute that force and equalize that force, which is really, really important because your horse's back is extremely sensitive. So if you bounce or your saddle bounces, that's going to be uncomfortable for your horse. The other thing that's cool about this pad is it has this little Velcro thing at the front, which you can actually take off completely. So you can take this completely off if your horse has high withers, and then you don't even need to have that there. So definitely check this out. I'll link all of this stuff in the description if you're interested about where you can find it. So this is what I put on next for Mr. Harvey. And like I said, he's super bouncy. And since he lost a lot of his muscle after his surgery, I found that this has like really, really helped him to like help me get by until he builds his muscle up again. Next, of course, is the saddle. So I like custom saddles. This is an Aviaire, which is a branch off of custom. And again, I feel like it just fits Harvey really well. So I'll put the link there. The other thing that I like to have on my saddles is a grab strap. So this is this little leather thing which attaches at the front. This comes in super handy for if your horse is a little like wild or excited. You can hook, sometimes what I'll do is I'll hook my outside hand under this while I'm holding the rein, and it helps you to stay more secure in the saddle. So if you don't have one of these, it's worth it. They're like $20. Okay, so I'm gonna put the saddle on Harvey. And it's funny with this squish pad, like it seems like it sits really high, but it squishes down a lot. So don't be alarmed. Now, what else about my saddle? So I'm trying out today for the first time these new stirrup leathers from Total Saddle Fit. I'm not sure if I'm gonna like them, but they have this thick part here, which is supposed to help stabilize your legs. So we're gonna ride around and see whether or not we like these. Next is the girth. Again, I'm a big fan of Total Saddle Fit. I actually met the guy that owns the company, and he's really into you know, just making products that are nice for the horses and that help our horses. So what's great about these girths is the ergonomic shape. Make sure that this part of the girth goes forward, because this cutback is space for your horse's elbows. I see a lot of people that put these girths on backwards and then it pokes into the horse's elbows and they can actually get sore. So make sure to put this on correctly. But what I like about this is the elastic here allows Harvey to breathe, and I also feel like I don't have to put it on quite as tight. Total Saddle Fit, they do have different liners. Like you can put a fuzzy liner or a neoprene liner, but for Harvey I just use the regular leather. And then I always put my billets through the keepers on these saddle pads, because that's what helps to keep your saddle pad from sliding too far back or sliding too far forward. I'm just going to go ahead and stick these through here. And it's important when you put the girth on that you don't put it on too tight at first. I always like to put my girth on kind of loose, make sure my saddle's situated correctly. I put my girth on a little bit looser to start with, walk my horse in a few circles, and then tighten it. It's important when you tighten your girth that you want to tighten the back billet first, because you want to pull the back of your saddle down and then the front of your saddle. So always do the back and then the front, walk your horse, and then tighten it again. Usually I walk my horses a bit under saddle and then tighten it a few more holes. But the reason that all this equipment is important is twofold. One, it's really important that your saddle fits your horse correctly, because your saddle is what forms the connection between your seat and your horse's back. So if your saddle isn't straight or if it's bouncing, then it's going to be uncomfortable both for you and for your horse. It's also important that your saddle sits straight, because a big goal in our riding is that we want to be straight and we want our horses to be straight. So that's another reason why it's important. But again, like I said at the beginning, you don't need to go out and spend a ton of money on new equipment. This is just what I like, and little by little you can add it to your wish list. And also let me know in the comments below what types of bridles or saddles you ride in, because it's not one size fits all. It's kind of like jeans. We all have our favorite pair of jeans that fit us really well. It's the same thing with saddles and bridles. So definitely do what works best for your horse. All right, I'm gonna get on and we're gonna see how I like these new stirrups. Okay, so now we have gotten on, and like I said, I always let my horse walk for a good, couple of rounds, and then I tighten the girth again. So I'm going to make sure to get my girth tight, and especially with, if you have a pad under your saddle, like with a squish pad, when you sit on it, everything compresses a little. So do check and make sure when you look down here that your saddle looks straight, that your saddle pad looks straight, that you have enough wither clearance. It's always important when you're sitting on your horse, you should be able to put your hand here under the front of your saddle. You don't want your saddle to be squashing onto your horse's withers. If you have a whip, you can also do a whip test where you kind of slide your whip down the front, and you should be able to stick your whip all the way from the front to the back of the saddle. So do make sure that your girth is tight, and it takes some time to figure out the right saddle and pad and stirrup length and the right setup that you want for you and for your horse. So I haven't warmed up or anything yet, but I'm interested to see what I'm gonna think of these new stirrup leathers. As you get to be more refined, you start to be so picky about your equipment, and like any little thing you change, even changing the reins or changing the bridle when you're on a sensitive horse, it can make such a big difference to the way that your horse feels and the way that you feel in the saddle. So that's a big part of why it is so important that we have this equipment. Okay, so I'm gonna just let him stretch, kind of feel it out. It feels good. I don't feel a huge difference yet. I think my stirrups might be a little long, so I'm gonna just stop here and shorten my stirrups. The way that you can tell if your stirrups are the right length is you just take your foot out of the stirrup, and when you let your foot drop, you want the bottom of your stirrup to be even with your ankle bone. So that's just a good test. It's always important to check and make sure that your stirrups are properly adjusted. And then what happens over time is that your stirrup leathers stretch. Well, the total saddle fit stirrup leathers don't stretch, but a lot of the stirrup leathers do stretch, and so often your left stirrup will stretch out more because that's the stirrup that you're getting on. Okay, that feels better now. But again, anytime you change your equipment, you have to make sure that it's set up properly. So you have to make sure that your girth is the right length, that your stirrups are the right length, that your bridle is set up correctly. And I'm just gonna let him stretch here while I feel out my new stirrup leathers. And I talked in the beginning about this grab strap. So right here, I'm just grabbing on. I mean, obviously he's not gonna like buck me off right now, but if I was on a young horse that I was worried about, what I can do is I can hold the outside rein and hold on to the grab strap like this, and that just gives me a little security that if the horse is to spin or spook or buck, that you're gonna stay with him. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. So I hope that you enjoyed this video about equipment. Again, let me know in the comments what some of your favorite equipment is, and I'll put the links in the description to the Total Saddle Fit, the Halter Ego, and also custom saddles. Thanks for watching. Give me a thumbs up. I make a new video every Wednesday, and I hope you enjoy this content.